Everybody's got an idea. Everybody's got a dream. Right now, somebody is talking about starting a business, writing a book, losing weight, or becoming the best version of themselves. But listen to me, ideas don't pay the bills. Dreams don't change your reality. You can sit around all day talking about what you're gonna do, but until you take that first step, until you move from thought to action, nothing in your life is gonna change. The world is full of great ideas, but success only comes through action. You know, one of the most overlooked truths in our world today is that ideas are everywhere. They're abundant. Sit in a coffee shop for 10 minutes and you'll hear people talk about businesses they'd like to start, books they plan to write, projects they want to launch. People are filled with potential strategies and dreams. And yet, if you track those conversations over time, you'll discover that almost none of those ideas ever materialize. Why? Because ideas are cheap. They cost nothing. Execution, on the other hand, is priceless. There's a psychological comfort in staying with the idea. It feels safe. The mind entertains possibility without exposing itself to the pain of failure. And so we sit with our dreams, polishing them, improving them in our imagination, waiting for the perfect time. But the perfect time never arrives. It doesn't exist. What exists is the present moment and the opportunity to act, however imperfectly, right now. This is where most people get it wrong. They assume success comes from the brilliance of the idea itself, as though history only rewards originality. But if you look closely, you'll find that the most successful people didn't necessarily have the most unique ideas. They had the courage to act on them. Think of Thomas Edison. Do you know how many people were experimenting with light before him? Do you know how many people imagined ways to record sound? Countless. But Edison acted relentlessly, and through repeated failures, he moved those ideas from abstraction into reality. The hard truth is that having an idea doesn't entitle you to anything. It doesn't guarantee respect, money, recognition, or change. Action is the currency of achievement. It is the bridge between the world in your head and the world outside. And every single time you choose to act, you create a possibility that didn't exist before. So when you leave here today, remember this: the world doesn't need more dreamers. It needs doors. The graveyards are already full of great ideas that never saw the light of day. Don't let yours be buried there too. What separates those who merely dream from those who achieve is not intelligence. It isn't talent. It isn't even opportunity. The world is full of intelligent people who never accomplished much, talented individuals who never reached their potential, and countless who had opportunities placed in front of them only to let them sleep away. The difference is action. Action is the great separator. The reason for this is actually psychological. When you act, you confront reality. You take an idea, abstract, fluid, and safe in your imagination, and you test it against the real world. That process is uncomfortable. It means risking failure, embarrassment, or criticism. And most people avoid that confrontation. They prefer the illusion of competence over the challenge of proving themselves. But here's the truth: every action you take is a form of truth-telling. It forces you to discover what you're capable of and what you're not. And that discovery, even if it's humbling, is infinitely more valuable than clinging to untested potential. If you examine the lives of high performers, you'll notice a pattern. They are people who act decisively even when conditions aren't perfect. They don't wait for certainty. They don't wait to feel ready. They begin, and through beginning, they learn. Success, then, isn't a product of some extraordinary idea that no one else has. It's a product of ordinary ideas executed with extraordinary persistence. Think about it this way: the person who acts, even imperfectly, gains feedback. They adjust, they improve. Meanwhile, the person who hesitates remains exactly where they are, convinced they're being cautious, but really they're standing still while the world moves on without them. Inaction masquerades as safety, but in reality, it's decay. So the choice is simple: either act and grow, or refuse and stagnate. And if you refuse, someone else will take the opportunities you abandoned. Someone else will move on the idea you only talked about. And you'll be left with regret, a knowledge that it wasn't lack of ability that held you back, but lack of action. Remember, this success doesn't belong to the smartest or the most gifted. It belongs to the ones who move. Motivation is intoxicating. It feels good. It gives you a temporary rush of energy, a sense that change is possible, that tomorrow can be different. And for a brief moment, it feels like you're already moving toward your goal. But here's the problem: motivation fades. It's like a spark. It burns bright, but doesn't last. You wake up one morning tired, discouraged, and the spark is gone. And if motivation is all you rely on, your dreams collapse the moment the feeling disappears. Discipline, on the other hand, is not a feeling. It's a structure. It's the ability to do what is necessary regardless of how you feel in the moment. And that's where the real transformation happens. Discipline is what bridges the gap between a fleeting emotion and a lasting achievement. Think about the person who goes to the gym every day, not because they're excited to, but because it's part of who they are. Over time, the body changes, the mind changes, the life changes. And all of that happens because discipline carried them where motivation could not. From a psychological perspective, discipline is deeply tied to identity. Every time you act in accordance with discipline, you reinforce a story about yourself. I am the kind of person who shows up. I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. And that story becomes more powerful than the momentary feelings of resistance. Discipline is essentially self-respect in action. It is treating your future self with the dignity it deserves. This is why the truly successful don't chase inspiration. They build systems, they create habits. They design their lives in such a way that action is not optional, it's inevitable. And while the world applauds talent and brilliance, it is discipline that sustains greatness when the applause fades. So yes, ideas matter. Yes, action matters. But consistent action, driven not by fleeting motivation, but by disciplined commitment, is what separates the good from the great. The truth is simple. Motivation might get you started, but only discipline will get you finished. One of the most tragic realities of human potential is that it is not destroyed primarily by failure. It is destroyed by fear. Fear is subtle. It whispers excuses into your mind, convincing you that now is not the right time, that you're not ready, that you need more preparation. And so many people never begin. They live their entire lives imprisoned by possibilities that remain locked away because they were too afraid to unlock the door. Failure itself is not the enemy. Failure is a teacher. In fact, if you look closely at the lives of people who have accomplished something remarkable, you'll find they carry scars. Scars of mistakes, of rejection, of false starts. But each failure refined them, shaped their character, clarified their vision. Fear, however, prevents you from even entering the arena where failure, and therefore growth, can occur. Psychologically, fear operates as a protective mechanism. The mind prefers the known, even if the known is mediocrity, over the uncertainty of the unknown. But here's the paradox: the very discomfort you're trying to avoid is the condition necessary for transformation. Growth requires stepping into places where you might fall short. Without that risk, you remain static, repeating the same patterns, clinging to a fragile sense of safety that is slowly suffocating your potential. And think about this: what is more painful, the sting of temporary failure or the enduring weight of regret? One teaches you, the other haunts you. Failure, when faced with courage, fades with time, but regret lingers like a shadow, a reminder of what could have been if only you had dared to act. This is why fear must be confronted, not avoided. You don't overcome fear by eliminating it, you overcome it by acting in spite of it. Each time you do, you expand your capacity. You realize that the monsters in your head are often smaller than they appear. And the strength you discover on the other side is worth every ounce of discomfort. So don't let fear dictate the course of your life. Because if you do, you'll find that you didn't avoid pain. You just chose a slower, quieter kind of suffering. When we imagine success, we often picture it as a single dramatic event, a breakthrough moment, a sudden leap forward, a grand achievement that changes everything overnight. But that image is misleading. In reality, success is rarely the product of one extraordinary act. More often, it is the accumulation of countless small, almost invisible steps repeated consistently over time. There's a principle in psychology called compounding. Small actions, when repeated daily, generate effects that grow disproportionately larger over time. The same way money invested wisely accumulates interest, habits invested consistently accumulate transformation. Waking up an hour earlier doesn't change your life in a single day, but repeat that practice for months and you'll have created time to build skills, read, work on projects, and eventually that extra hour reshapes the entire trajectory of your life. The problem is that people underestimate the power of the small step. They think only in terms of giant leaps. And because those leaps feel overwhelming, they delay starting. But by refusing to act on the small, they rob themselves of the compounding effect that makes the big possible. Success isn't about sprinting towards some distant finish line. It's about walking steadily every single day in the right direction. Think about learning an instrument, writing a book, or improving your health. None of these transformations happen overnight. They are built in fragments, a page written here, a scale practiced there, a workout completed even when it feels inconvenient. Each step by itself may feel trivial, but together they form a body of work that is undeniable. The discipline of taking small, deliberate action shapes not only your results, but your identity. You become someone who follows through, who builds, who creates. And here's the deeper truth: greatness is never one moment. It's the sum of many ordinary moments done with extraordinary consistency. That's why success doesn't belong to the extraordinary. It belongs to the ordinary who refuse to quit. So stop waiting for the perfect leap. Stop telling yourself the story that change has to be dramatic. Begin with the step in front of you, however small, and repeat it until momentum takes hold. At the end of life, people rarely regret the things they tried and failed at. What haunts them are the things they never attempted, the words they never spoke, the risks they never took, the work they never began. And that's because legacy is not built on intentions, it is built on actions. Nobody will remember what you plan to do, it'll only remember what you actually did. This is a sobering truth. You can have all the potential in the world, all the intelligence, all the creativity, but if it never translates into action, it disappears with you. It vanishes. The world does not benefit from intentions. It benefits from the things you put into motion. What you create, what you build, the lives you touch, the problems you help solve. That is the measure of a life well lived. Philosophically, this is the essence of responsibility. Responsibility means carrying the burden of acting, not just thinking. It means acknowledging that your choices, or your lack of them, shape not only your own destiny, but also the environment around you. Every action has ripple effects. The book you write may inspire someone you'll never meet. The business you start may provide livelihoods for people you'll never know. The act of courage you take today might be the spark that ignites another person's transformation. Legacy emerges not from your intentions, but from those ripples of action that continue long after you are gone. The great danger is to assume that time is unlimited, that you can delay forever, that someday you'll act when circumstances align. But time is finite, the clock is ticking, and every day you postpone action. Your legacy grows weaker, not stronger. So the question you must ask yourself is simple when your story is told. Will it be a story of what you meant to do or what you actually did? The answer to that question is being written every day in the choices you make and the actions you take. Ideas inspire, but actions define. So if there's one truth I want you to carry with you, it's this. The world is overflowing with ideas, but is starved of action. It isn't brilliance that changes the course of history, it's execution. Success belongs to those who act with discipline, who push through fear, who take the small steps consistently, and who refuse to let their dreams die as intentions. Your legacy will not be measured by what you thought about or what you planned to do. It will be measured by what you built, what you gave, and what you dared to bring into reality. The clock is ticking, and the opportunity is now. Don't wait for permission, don't wait for certainty, move. Because in the end, it's not the idea that matters, it's the action.